Let me tell you guys about Belly Up Sports. Belly Up Sports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. Belly Up Sports is the premier, not your average website.
All right, guys, Champions League final. PSG defeat Inter Milan 5-0 to win the Champions League for the first time in their club's history. PSG beat Inter Milan 5-0. PSG had 60% of the possession. PSG also outshot Inter Milan 23-8. And they also had more shots on target, 8-2. They had just as many shots on target as Inter Milan had shots overall. PSG was very much the best team on the field. They were just levels better than Inter Milan. Inter Milan just looked very flat. Defensively was just I don't know what to say. Midfield wasn't. Yeah, overall it was just not a great performance from Inter Milan. They had a game. I feel like they initially had a plan, and PSG just had the better strategy and they implemented it better. They just looked more fluid. They looked better. They looked like they knew what was coming, and I think that just goes back to just great preparation and great coaching. And but yeah, PSG had 60% of the possession. I think I already said that, or I didn't say that. And then once again, obviously, outshot them 23-8. 8 shots on target for PSG to 2 shots on target for Inter Milan. The goals came in the 12-minute mark by Hakimi, Due, who scored in the 20th minute mark and the 63rd mark. So the 2-0 lead, obviously they had a 2-0 lead in halftime, and then Inter Milan had moments where you felt like they could maybe turn some things around, but it just never worked into full fruition. And then as soon as Due scored the third goal, his second goal, but the third goal, it basically was just like, all right, this is game. Kvaratskhelia scores in the 73rd, and Mayulo scores in the 86th-minute mark to put. The dagger was in the 63rd minute, but at this point, it was the meme of stop, he's already dead. So, but yeah. PSG had full control of this game, and Inter Milan just looked flat. Desiree Due becomes the youngest player to record a goal and assist in the UEFA Champions League final. Bro, we need to talk about Due. I think, once again, it goes back to just people don't really follow PSG as much, because, once again, it's PSG, it's the Farmers League. People don't like PSG because of the Qatari money. People call Ligue 1 the Farmers League, all these things, but they were almost undefeated in Ligue 1. It was something that we pointed out, that no one's really talking about it, but and then obviously their initial start to the Champions League wasn't great. It was very overwhelming. They had to make it. It took the final day of matches for them to qualify for the knockout round, But Desiree Due, a guy that I don't think anybody expected him to be a crucial piece for this team this season, but got on the field and it made sense. It made sense to have him there, and he really has been good. I think we talk about Spain and how loaded that national team is. We just talked about Lamine Yamal getting his big contract, but Desiree Due, who's only 18 years old, about to be 19, like he's gonna have a strong future. And France, Spain and France, that's going to be the rivalry for quite some time because of how many young players they have. But I think going back to PSG, and on top of that, Mayulo, he becomes the second youngest player to score a goal in the Champions League. Originally, it was Due who scored in the 20th minute mark, who became the second youngest player. But then Mayulo comes in and comes off the bench, and he scores one in the 86th minute mark, and then he becomes the second youngest player to score a goal in the UEFA Champions League final. If you guys want to know who the youngest player is Patrick Kluivert, who scored He was 18 years and 327 days old when he scored his goal in the Champions League final, and I believe that was with Ajax. So, yes, this was PSG. Okay, say what you want about PSG. Hate PSG for all you want because of the Qatari money and all that, but this team was different from the other PSG teams. You know, you lose Mbappe. This year just specifically because you lose Mbappe. You know, everyone's like basically writing this team off like they're not going to be good, but it worked the opposite way. Doue became phenomenal. You know, Dembele probably has one of the best seasons that anyone can have. You know, in Ligue 1. You still have Hakimi. You had Marquinhos leading this defense. Donnarumma. You know, I wonder what's going to happen for him in the summer because there's speculation of him going to Inter Milan. Does he want to stay put in with PSG? I mean, look what they just accomplished. And then you go out and get Kvaratskhelia. You know, you go get Kvaratskhelia in the January transfer window. You just build this attack, build this team. Because also you got Fabian Ruiz. Also, fun fact, Kvaratskhelia, not only did he just, and also fun, PSG won a treble. They won the Coupe de France. They won the, obviously, Ligue 1 and Champions League. So they have accomplished a treble. This is phenomenal. This is great. This is what you want, what you expect from a top-tier team. And once again, there's no real big signing. I mean, they have signings. I mean, Dembele, you know, but nothing like high marquee player-esque, if you will. You know, these are, you know, and also props to Marquinhos, bro. He's been with this team for 12 years. 12 years, and finally, you know, he's been loyal to this team. He saw changes after changes after changes, right? You got Thiago Silva at one point, David Luiz at one point, Gigi Buffon was a goalkeeper at one point, Keylor Navas was a goalkeeper at one point. You had, you know, Angel Di Maria, you had Lionel Messi, you had Zlatan Ibrahimovic, you had Edinson Cavani, you had David Beckham, you had Neymar, you know, Mbappe. The list goes on and on of players to come to this club, and they could never get it. They could never get it done. And when I mean get it done, win the Champions League. The closest they ever got to the Champions League was that COVID season. You went through coaches, right? You had the likes of Thomas Tuchel. You had, you know, Carlo Ancelotti. You had, you know, Mauricio Pochettino. I'm trying to think of it. Unai Emery. No, wait, was it Unai Emery? Yeah, Unai Emery. You had so many. You've gone through so many coaches, and you know, you get Luis Enrique, who just won the Euro to take over PSG, and you finally do it. You win your first Champions League title in club's history. This was the goal of of when the Qataris took over this team, was to build a strong club in France to win a Champions League, and they did it. They finally did it. This is like the encompassing of what this season is, right? You have teams, you know, Harry Kane wins his first trophy, right? You have Tottenham winning their first trophy. You know, Crystal Palace winning a trophy, Bologna winning a trophy. You know, so many things, so many new faces, right? Why not PSG just lifting their first trophy? And I mean, you know, props. You want to give some recognition to Inter Milan. They just, once again, they just look flat. But another Inter Milan, I mean, they gave Manchester City their first Champions League. So, and I'll say one thing positive about Inter Milan. This won't be the last time we see them here. I think that I think, you know, we'll see what changes they make this season, but, you know, this offseason. But they're still a very good team, and I don't want to take that away from them. But on top of all this, with Luis Enrique, obviously, you know, he leaves the Spanish national team job to take PSG, and once again, it's just the right guy. I mean, last year last year, you know, he had that little talk with Mbappe, and he was confident. He's like, hey, yeah, we lost Mbappe, but I think we're a better team without him. The bread is in the pudding now. Bread is in the pudding. He said it, and it happened. It happened, right? He said it. This team is better without Mbappe, and stop him if he's lying now, right? But yes, and on top of that, man, last Champions League, the last time Luis Enrique won a Champions League, he had like this awesome photo of him, stamping the flag, with his daughter, Sana. Unfortunately, she passed away at 9 years old, after battling cancer, and so you see the fans of PSG, making doing a tifo with him now with PSG with Sana, and for what that means, right? This is one of those moments where it's bigger than the sport kind of thing. Just a beautiful moment. Just a guy that deserves everything. I said it this year. We need to start appreciating Luis Enrique a little bit more, as a coach, because he's such a brilliant coach. He understands the players very well, and he understood it in a way to put these guys in the best position possible. I think a lot of youth players were utilized this year for PSG. This was a different PSG team, and I think Luis Enrique is definitely the reason for it. So I'm really happy for him. I think this is a great ending to this season for them. A great storybook ending for him in some sense. To have that moment and have like so many supporters be there for him in that kind of moment. It was beautiful, man. It was to the point where you kind of forget everything about how people feel about PSG, because it was awesome for them, man. Overall, this Champions League, was it the best Champions League? No. I mean, a team literally got blown out in the Champions League final, but it was still very entertaining. We got Linkin Park doing the pregame show. But everything was just beautiful, right? PSG put out just the performance of a lifetime, and for them to win their first Champions League final, it's gonna be exciting, man. I can't wait, man. This next Champions League, I wonder what the storylines are gonna be, but it's just crazy, right? PSG started this Champions League campaign terribly. It was not looking great, and it literally was when they faced off against Lille in that first knockout round. They beat the brakes out of Lille, and they were just like, all right, yeah, I got it now. And then they beat Liverpool. They beat, I believe, Aston Villa. They beat Arsenal. They went through the Premier League, right? And obviously Luis Enrique was like, I thought we were the Farmers League. They wasn't an easy pathway for them, but they handled their business. And I honestly, it goes back to that Lille matchup. I think it was as soon as they beat Lille in that play-in round, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right, we're PSG. And they played very much like that. They were very great, deserving of a Champions League. Like I said in the when I previewed with Kelsey, this team does deserve to win a Champions League. Inter Milan also deserved to win one, but PSG also looked like they deserved to win a Champions League trophy. So, congratulations to PSG. Congratulations to Musa. Musa, I love you, buddy. I know that you're really happy with your family and all that. Yeah, I know you're. Fun fact: Musa played for the academy at PSG, so really cool for that for him. So, congratulations to PSG for winning the Champions League.
Who is that guy?